So people say that, if you do something continuously for 21 days, then it becomes a habit. Is that really true?
Ghanta.
You don't like the idea of being called a motivation speaker. What is it?
Because motivation is a trap.
Do you also have like specific timelines that you work with people?
For me, the difference is that I don't want them to have those aha moments when they go home. I want them to have those aha moments while sitting with me. So back then, there was no concept of health. If you went to the gym, people would say, why you're trying to become Arnold Schwarzenegger? All eyes are on you saying, what is this boy going to turn into? So my heart went tuck, 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 tuck. I could feel it almost jumping out of my chest and I collapsed on the floor. So at that point of time, I'm lying down on the floor and I'm thinking I'm going to die. That's when I realized that something has to change.
Where we speak heart to heart and conversations flow. Welcome to the Mehak Ankar show. So in the studios we have today who is someone who's been on a very special inner journey. He has transformed himself into who he is today. And I'm very delighted to have someone who is known as a habit coach. He is an author of 4 books, as well as he has been a TEDx speaker as well. Welcome to the show, Ashdin Doctor.
Thank you so much for having me.
When I heard about what you do, I was very curious to know more, like the other day when we were talking. What is a habit coach? Like, is there really a thing?
So habit coaching didn't exist as an industry. It was something that I created about, say, 8-9 years ago. And when people ask me, what is a habit coach? Because as people say, I've heard of fitness coach, which is now a big thing, life coach as well. I define a habit coach very simply as someone who helps you get rid of your frustrations in life. We all have different frustrations that we are going through. Like, why can't I stick to this diet? Or why can't I just get rid of this stress? Why do I keep, following the same relationship patterns every time? All of these are there. And I suddenly realized I had this aha moment that it's these unconscious habits that we have picked up from somewhere that create these frustrations because we don't know how to change it. And very often the change that we want to make, we don't know what it's going to be like or how to actually take it forward. So that is where the idea of habit coaching came out. And I know so many people who, would come and ask me, Ashdin, you used to be this large. How did you suddenly lose weight? How did you become fit? And I would start telling them, I would be like, I started intermittent fasting back before intermittent fasting was the thing. And I focused on my stress, etc., etc. And they would listen to me for exactly 20 seconds and then say, Baba, I cannot do what you do. I don't have your motivation. I don't have your self-discipline. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that most of the reason that we can't change is because we think we don't have the discipline or we don't have this word called motivation. So as a habit coach, my entire job is to get you out of this trap of motivation. I say motivation sucks. It's the worst thing. And in fact, when I'm often called on stage to give keynote speeches, people introduce me as a motivational speaker. And the first thing I come up and do and say is anti-motivational speaker. So my war is on motivation to bring change.
You don't like the idea of being called a motivation speaker. What is it?
Because motivation is a trap. You look at something on Instagram, you see somebody else doing something and you get very inspired. Like, oh, I also want to do this. I want to be able to run 25 kilometers. I want to look ripped or I want to be on a yacht. And you get inspired, you come back and you draw your little vision board, etc. And that motivation that comes from that inspiration lasts for exactly 1 day, 2 days.
So it's not sustainable.
It's not something that is long lasting. So I liken, in my first book, I spoke about this, where I liken motivation like a matchstick. You light a matchstick and it burns brightly, but for a few seconds. You cannot cook your meal on a matchstick. We are trying to create a life. We are trying to create something grander. We're not trying to create something for a few seconds. So we have to be able to find something that's longer lasting.
How beautiful is that, yeah?
And for longer lasting, you need intention. Why you want to do something. And you need habits, how you're going to do it.
So purpose or, where you want to reach. Are people usually that clear about what they want to do in life, where they want to reach? What is it?
Purpose is very, very far away because purpose aligns with what you're good at, what the world needs, all sorts of different things. Intention is a more deeper why. Why do you actually want to make a change? Very often we are very surface level intention oriented. My neighbor's going for a run in the morning, so I'll also go for a run. Very surface level. I bought new Lululemon pants, so I'm going to go for yoga. right? Very surface level. We have to go deeper if you want to sustain something for the rest of your life. And that is where this whole idea of finding a deep intention comes in. So we do multiple exercises. We talk about the 3 whys. How do you go deeper each time to identify something that touches you, that if you don't do will actually cause a little bit of pain, and understand what that pain is so that you stick to what it is that you're doing. So that intention setting is very important.
So when you talk about intention or coaching people or changing their habits, old habits die hard is, a thing that was really, it meant something. And I think it's true. Matlab, if you really have been practicing something for so long, it doesn't go away. So one-on-one coaching really helps, you think?
So the way that, so I'll give you 2 examples. Like I was saying, one-on-one coaching, you'll obviously see a very, very targeted response. And I've worked with so many people across these years on how to change their habits, how to change their life completely. But there's another point to this, which is that when I started one-on-one coaching, it was only the people I interacted with that changed. Then when the Habit Coach podcast started, we started with 4 listeners, 10 listeners. This was about 7 years ago, before podcasting was a thing in Israel.
So we're talking about audio podcast.
This was primarily audio. People didn't know how to listen to podcasts. So we had to first download an app for them saying, this is what a podcast is. Now you listen to it like this, etc. And then slowly it started growing. Within the first year, we became one of the top podcasts in the world, top 10 podcasts in the world. And I was getting flooded by people talking to me and saying that you have no idea how this episode changed my life. I had an aha moment from this. From now onwards, I started doing this. My wife is referring to this. And the other day, I had a very interesting person tell me saying that you don't know the Ekalavyas that you have helped in your life, because you know the people who you interact with, but people who are on the outskirts who are looking in and are changing, you have no idea how many people you have changed.
Yeah.
And the beauty of mediums like this is to reach out to people who will never know you, you will never know them. But something that you say sparks something in them.
Yeah. Also, the kind of phase they are in life, what they're going through, and you don't know which chord you're gonna touch where.
Especially during COVID, when everyone was at home. And one of the things I'm most proud about the Habit Coach podcast was that we didn't miss a single day of the podcast coming down. It was 3 times a week, and then it was 5 times a week. And we banged out every episode. Through COVID, I was recording through our closet at home, so there was no echo on our mobile phone sending out, because I realized that podcast was helping so many people during a time that they were very, very low. It was helping them change.
And same with radio in Singapore. During COVID, I think radio also got a new life with COVID, because shoots were cancelled. People could not come together and shoot for like other mediums which are visual. And for an anchor, people had to turn to someone. And then radio again was born, I think, during COVID. And as podcasts grew, so did radio. Otherwise, radio...
And as loneliness grew.
Yeah.
Right? Your voice became something that you became intimate with.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'm sure you had that experience where you're walking and you are saying something, somebody suddenly turns around and says, Ashdin Doctor, where is this person? I can hear the person, I can't see the person. I don't know what you look like.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens to me. I go somewhere and I'm talking and somebody's like, excuse me. And I'm like, yeah, you sound very familiar. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So then they're like, are you this? And I'm like, yeah, I am this. So it does play. And then the way you connect with people, and it's very at a different level for sure. So for you also, I think it's not another business or a commercial venture that can ever make something like what you're doing. So when you talk to people, they come to you, and you also need to have a lot of time, because I don't know, when you go to therapy, the therapist says 45 minutes, and I understand they say it because they want to break that flow. They want the person to go back and reflect upon things, give it a pause, and come back the next day. So how does that work for you? Do you also have like specific timelines that you work with people?
So on one-on-one, I work for 3 months at a time, and we do 1 hour to 1.5 hours every week. Now, for me, the difference is that I don't want them to have those aha moments when they go home. I want them to have their aha moments while sitting with me. So all our one-on-one coaching sessions are broken up into 3 parts. One is what happened in the week before. because we need to know if you maintained the habits that we spoke about, were there any new thoughts that came up, followed by a time for aha moments. This is when I'm giving either a suggestion or a gyan or an aha moment to them or teaching them something new, followed by a plan of action. This plan of action is very important because as a habit coach, I believe that if you don't put something into practice, there's no point doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Theory, anyone can teach you. Go read a book, go listen to a podcast. But to put it into practice is where the key part is. So the action orientation is very, very important. And I want people to go away from me as fast as possible. I don't want them to stay with me longer, because the faster they are resilient and on their own 2 feet, better for me. I can help somebody else.
Very nice. So how did this idea of becoming a habit coach come to you? What was your personal journey that brought you to a point where you said that you need to change something within yourself?
So I think, since we talk about like pivotal moments in this, I think through life, there are so many different pivotal moments. And one of the things that I've realized is that the beauty of life is that you never start again from scratch. You always start with the experience of what there was earlier. And you should never be fearful of destroying the things that you've created, because you know you're going to create something far more beautiful going ahead. So I came in with that mindset. And a little bit about me, I come from a family business background. So did that for 12, 15 years. Straight out of college. So when I came out of college and I started in my parents' company, I was the youngest person there. And I was the youngest person probably for the next 5 years. So I used to joke that I joined in as one level above the water cooler, one level below the office staff and peon, because I had to do everything. So that's how it was. I was brought up, and then slowly, obviously, rose to the ranks, learning new things. Then I started my own division within the company, and that was growing. And because you come from a family business background, you're always scrutinized. All eyes are on you, saying, what is this boy going to turn into? Is he going to be one bigra beta? What's going to happen? And as a result, I became this typical type A person. I have to win at everything. Harsh.
Get it, yeah.
Right? I have to win. What is the point otherwise? And that much builds stress. So it was stress at work, stress at home, and it was this full fountain of these two coming together.
So when did you realize that you were in a relationship which is not comfortable for you?
It comes in different ways, this knowing, this realization. For me, it came when my entire body completely collapsed, because it could not keep up with what was happening in the world around. So
when you say collapse, means what happened?
I'll tell you. So back then, there was no concept of health. If you went to the gym, people would say, why are you trying to become Arnold Schwarzenegger? Right? There was no concept of
muscles building was only thing.
Muscle building was there. In Bombay, where do you do any cardio? There was no running. There was no marathon, nothing. So you would actually go for a walk. People would laugh at you saying, take a rickshaw. Right? So, so I had put on a lot of weight. I was very, very stressed. My skin basically looked dull, dark. All the signs now that I look back on of, like this person's completely withering away. I look like death. And one fine day, I'm getting ready for work. And I had a presentation that day. And I'd spent the last 2 days working back to back, no sleep at night, 48 hours awake. And I was getting ready for work and I was putting on my shirt and it got drenched in sweat. And so my heart went tuck, 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 tuck. I could feel it almost jumping out of my chest and I collapsed on the floor. And I didn't know what was happening to me, because at that point of time, you're 30 something, very young.
So you had an anxiety attack?
No, you don't know what it was called, right? There was no word called anxiety back then. We use anxiety now liberally.
Yeah.
At that point, anxiety was not even spoken about.
People didn't even know about it.
There was no such word as panic attack either. There was no such, the lingo that we use now did not exist at that time to describe this. It was the heart attack in my mind. So at that point of time, I'm lying down on the floor and I'm thinking I'm going to die and, be fearful. And there was another part of me that was saying, wow, Ashdin, do you realize you worked so hard that you're going to die? Congratulations. And it was so interesting to see these two parts in me, because what's happening is that most of us have these two elements constantly at each other. right? There is one path that knows that what's happening right now is not correct. What knows that what's happening right now is not going to be beneficial for you. And there's another path that has been programmed, either by society or the kind of people that we are with, that tells you that, okay, fine, go down this path. And you can see what's happening in the world in terms of the way that we are working, people working ourselves to death, etc.
Yeah.
That's when I realized that something has to change. And I was walking on Carter Road and I had this epiphany. I was like, if I died that time and I went to heaven or hell, and God asked me,
you very set in your mind that you were going to heaven only. Okay, yeah, good to know that. Very positive.
And then he said that, what if God asked me, so Ashdin, did you like this little gift that I gave you called life? I can't go back to him and say it was Right? I can't say komsi komsa. I have to say it was mind-blowing. And that's where the whole idea of saying that, can I live a life that is awesome, came from. And I was like, life, I thought, has to be awesome. Everyone has to go in awe of what you're doing. So in fact, the habit coaching company is called Awesome 180, because how do you become awesome in 180 days, 6 months? How do you become awesome in 180 days? That was the original idea behind the habit coaching business.
Vaise, I agree, but just like to differ that everybody is awesome in their own way.
But you have to make life awesome. Now, when you ask people, how is life going, do they say awesome?
Yeah.
No, they say no. So you have to realize that you have the potential of doing this.
Yeah.
If I can do it, anyone can do it. That's the idea. And that's where I came from. I said, listen, if I can turn my life around in such a dramatic way, anyone can. And why do people think it's so hard to do? So my whole thing was, can I make it easy for them? Because I'm not the most disciplined person in life. I'm not the most motivated person. But I realized that I can figure out how to make things small, easy, and consistent. That's where this whole habit coaching came from.
So small, if you have continuous small success that comes through in life, it could be, doing any task which you are able to complete and do it. I'm sure that you have your ways, but then it's very interesting. I'm sure that you meet so many kind of people, on a few weeks basis or daily basis or however. Anywhere that you felt in your profession now that you're in as a habit coach, that you felt that you are stuck, how to handle something with that person, or that person came to you with a lot of hope that you will change my life, but you were not able to do that. Any regrets in that aspect have you had?
So it's very interesting. In fact, one of the first few people I started working with was like this. I think it was client number 3 or 4. And no matter what we did, there was no change. You would make 2 steps forward, take 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. Not even like 4 steps back or 1 step back. 1 step back you can work with. At least you made little progress. Go back straight to 0. I was like, listen. So I finally went up to her and I said, listen here, please take your money back, because clearly I can't, there's something wrong here, etc., etc. About 2 months later, I read this very interesting book called The 4 Tendencies. And that explained what was going on. So there are 4 kinds of people. There are people who are externally driven, internally driven, etc. There's one that listens. So there are people who listen to others and not to themselves. Listen to themselves, not to others. Listen to others and themselves. And there are people who don't listen to anybody. They don't listen to others and they don't listen to themselves.
So he fell in that category.
So that category was this lady, and luckily the category is very small. And luckily I met this category right in the beginning, so I knew what this felt like. So I know how to deal with it when it comes up now. Those are the kinds of people that are not coachable, because they might want to make the change, but they will not do anything about it. And what you can only do is be a support system, create a safe space. But you realize that they're not going to change at the rate that other people are going to. So you remap your expectations.
So do people also say that, if I want to change, then I can also go to a therapist? Then why do I go to a habit coach?
So therapists and habit coaches do things very differently. So a therapist is primarily looking at your past to understand what has happened to bring you here. As a habit coach, I'm only looking at you 5 years from now. So I'm only looking at your future and saying, if you want to do this 5 years from now, this is what you have to start doing now. So the job is very, very different. So I very happily encourage people to go to a therapist as well. Work on the parts that have
that rabbits at
you.
work.
till you come to a place where you can say, now I can think of a future. Many people go to a therapist because they can't see hope at all.
Yeah.
Right? When you're in a state of hopelessness, when you're thinking about suicide, depression, etc., there is no future. So go there, realize that there is a future. Come, let's create that future. That is the way that I would look at both of these coming together.
And what would you say about discipline? Like how disciplined a person needs to be to change the habits? Or can that also happen with people who are not as disciplined?
So it's not about discipline. It is about creating the right systems. See, you get disciplined about things that you want to become a disciple in. That means you want to throw your life into. Now, every habit you don't want to throw your life into. You don't want to throw your life into brushing your teeth and flossing. Right? Those are very surface level habits. So instead, for these kind of habits, you don't work on discipline, you work on systems. You're forgetting to take your medicine every day. Create a system so that the medicine automatically comes to you when it's time for lunch, automatically comes to you when it's time for your tea or whenever. So you use systems in order to make sure that you are consistent. Discipline comes in when you're trying to master something far more. You know, the word discipline comes from the word disciple. And a person who's a disciple has thrown their life into this. So by all means, if you have a hobby that you want to make a habit, become a disciple of it. Right? But not for everything that you want to become. It's also very important, Mehak, to think about how we define our habits. Because we often think about habits only as things that we do. And the way that as a habit coach I define it is...
This is interesting. I was just about to ask you this question. So, you know what do you describe habits as? Because the way we live our life, sometimes we feel, we are habitual to this. This is such a common phrase in the North. You know, people say, yeah, I'm so habitual, whether that's, whatever it is. So what is it? Yeah, tell us more about that.
So I'll tell you about habits and then remind me to answer this one on what you just said. So I define habits as conscious or subconscious actions or thoughts repeated at a set frequency. I'll break it up. Conscious or subconscious means what? Not all habits are subconscious. You think all habits are subconscious. Like, I don't know how I tie my shoelaces, but I manage to tie my shoelaces. I'm not consciously thinking about left, over, right, and under. However, some habits have to be conscious. If you can't subconsciously go to a gym. You can't suddenly land up at the gym. मैं कहाँ हूँ? मैं कैसे आया यहाँ पे? Right? So you consciously do that habit. The second part is action or thought. We normally think of habits only as actions. Tying shoelaces, going to the gym are actions. But our thoughts are also habits. And we don't realize this, that we are constantly having habitual thoughts.
Oh my God, that is so deep. Yes. I never thought about it like this. That, yeah, and
I'm not good enough.
You get stuck in a loop and you खुश चल रही life and everything is going fine. But like, you have to think negatively about something. ये हो रहा है, तो the first thought that will come to you is a negative thought. Like, we've been doing podcasts now, and then the moment somebody says that, till some time back this person was coming, and now all of a sudden this person says, I cannot come. So I went into like, did I say something? Something happened? Did I not offer something which he was comfortable with? So, it is such, you have hit it so right.
So our thoughts are actually the first things that we need to work on as habits. So before I start working on physical habits, like I want to go to the gym every day, I actually spend the first month working on our thoughts. Do I deserve going to the gym? Is there something else that's blocking me from going to the gym? Am I using my weight as a way of actually protecting myself from harm? So it's different things that people are using as thoughts to anchor themselves. Waking up in the morning and say, oh my God, life sucks, life sucks, life sucks. Life is suck. So waking up, what is the first thought that comes to your mind? How do you train that into a thought of either gratitude or a thought of abundance or a manifestation-oriented thought? Teaching these little things starts the process for what you're going to be doing. So our thoughts are also habit. And obviously repeated at a set frequency. You do something once every month, it's not going to be a habit. Right? So you have to do it at a set frequency that is ideally a couple of times a week or not more, if not more.
So people say that, if you do something continuously for 21 days, then it becomes a habit. Is that really true?
Ghanta. So I've never seen a habit get formed in 21 days.
40 days?
No. Because the reason is interesting. As soon as you form a habit, you will say, chalo ho gaya, and within the next 3 days, you'll drop it. Because your mind was set at setting the habit,
21.
reaching 21 days, reaching 42 days. So I tell people, listen, you want to do this habit for the rest of your life, right? Why in such a hurry to do it in 21 days? The rest of your life is much longer. Instead, keep growing with that habit. Instead, keep learning and evolving that habit to the next level instead of just that 21 day, 42 day period.
In your profession, I'm sure you meet so many different kinds of people. Any funny stuff that happens that really brings a smile to your face?
I think it's how people sometimes get scared of you. You know, yeah, it's really cute. So I work with lots of people who are like, I can't tell you names because you'll know these people, but they're like titans of industry, like billionaires in India, etc. And everyone in the office is scared of them. And because of the work that we do, slowly they realize that they need to take what I'm saying very seriously. So if they don't do their homework, you know how we used to call in sick in school saying, "Arey, you know, my tummy is hurting, I'm sorry, I can't." Exactly like that. You know, Ashdin, is it okay if we don't meet today because... And I realize they're making this excuse because they haven't done what I told them to do. It's very cute to see that child in these people who you understand as industry, like powerful, etc.
Yeah.
And the cuter thing is when either their spouses or their parents call me up and say, "What have you done to this person? You know, they have completely changed. You've given us a new version of them." And it's so cute seeing this outside avatar and this inside avatar of people. And I think that is the beauty of it. And like I keep saying, my work is completely confidential. So nobody will ever know who we are. Sometimes you're at a party with 7 people who I'm coaching.
Yeah.
And none of them will know who the other person is. And they all have a little smirk on their face. Like I know. So it's very cute.
Yeah, man. But then, I heard that nowadays when you also go out of your house and you go to a public place and people just turn around and say, "Can we have a picture with you?" So, did you know that you're going to arrive at a point like that? Did you envision your life to become a person who would one day be so recognized because of the meaningful work that he's doing with people?
No. So, very strangely, I saw a very strange side of fame once when I was in college. I got mobbed. Okay, I was, I think, 14 or 15, and this was when I was dating my first girlfriend. And we had gone to do some work in Don Bosco school where we were doing something for the street children. So it was 2 days of working with these street children, you know, teaching them cleanliness, etc., etc., etc. And they were promised that on the last day, a celebrity is coming to talk to your girlfriend and I. We walked out, and we came back into the hall where everyone was sitting, and there were like 500, 600 children. And slowly, all their eyes started looking at us. And they got up and ran. They thought we were the celebrities who had come. And these, you can imagine at 15, 16, seeing this whole crowd of people rushing at you. She started crying. I didn't know what to do. We panicked. We ran up some random staircase and sat there for God knows how long, hoping that the crowd had disappeared till people came to find us. But, you know, that left this whole thing about I don't ever want to become famous because this fame thing is not for me.
It freaked you out.
It freaked me out. And I was like, I want to be able to go to a market and buy things without people knowing who I am. Because I think that's the beauty of also being anonymous. We live in a world right now where, see, as all human beings, we want influence. The word is influence, but we very mistakenly think of it as wealth or rich. Or, you know, I am rich, I can get influence. Or I am famous, I can get influence. But there are other ways of getting influence. That you can be a good person, you can influence your own society. You don't need that kind of fame to still feel that format of influence. And I realized that influence is what we need to be working towards. And that is why all the stuff that I'm doing.
So it was not really something that you planned for, but it organically, has converged into this beautiful space for you that you're also now comfortable, I guess.
Yeah. Now it's all cool. The number of times I've had to sign autographs because of the books. I think
you haven't brought a book for me, so you owe me one. You should have brought it on the show today.
I'm horrible. Sorry, I forget these things from time to time.
Well, this guy is not promoting himself well enough. So, maybe you don't need to. But yeah, I would like a copy of the book.
For sure. Done.
I and you travel the world for your work as well. People, corporates and organizations call you around the world to come and deliver a keynote speech, or maybe, work with their employees and their, colleagues. So how has that changed you as a person when you now go and now the responsibility of a international, I don't know if I want to use the word clients, but, a group of people that you're going to engage with.
International influence.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I went, I was like, why would anybody want to hear from an Indian talking about habits? Because not from a derogatory way about India, but because my culture is so different from their culture. Will I ever be able to relate to their culture?
Yeah.
Like there are certain countries where you never will discuss football, or you never discuss politics.
Yeah.
So I went there with trepidation, and I came out realizing one universal truth, that people are people no matter where you go. Everybody is someone's son or daughter. And that aha moment happened. The feelings that we feel are universal. And if I can understand that this person's feeling of guilt is the same as my feeling of guilt, it might be different from a culture point of view on how we deal with the guilt, but the emotion is the same. And I realized this, and then after that, all the talks across, it wasn't if I was talking to a Thai person or a French person, an Italian person, an Australian. Their behaviors might be different, their experiences might be different, their thinking process might be different. The emotions that they feel
Is universal.
and the journeys that they go through are universal. Everyone will go through a heartbreak. Everyone will go through a feeling of not good enough. Everyone will go through something or the other that is very universal that you can tap into. And it is about realizing that we are actually one. Very often when we are going through something traumatic, we sit in our house and we feel like I'm the only person going through this. I feel very, very lonely. I feel very, very low. Till you realize that your story has been written a million times.
And that is the reason why I started this show, the journey. I was going through this internal journey of so many different kind of emotions and tough situations in life, tough decisions to be made, not the best mental space that I was in. I'm like, I am in a foreign country. And no matter how many friends you have, it always feels like, what's home for you. And after you've lived in another country for so long, it's like, it's not home. Maybe it is home. But when you come back to India and you go to your house, that's also not home anymore. So you don't know where you belong. You belong in your head. So wherever you feel space. And I was having this chat with a very dear friend of mine the other day, and I said that, what's home for you? And she said, yeah, this is. And I said, for me, a safe space is home for me. And I chose to come back to Bombay and start this series of podcasts because I feel it's homecoming for me. It's the work that I enjoy doing, the way I like to have conversations, the way I want to bring people together and tell them exactly what you just said on the show, that your story has been written many times in different people's lives. And that is so true. And I want everybody to feel that you're not alone. Through this show, we are connecting so many people across the world right now where you don't know what you're going to say today that is going to strike a chord with them, and they will be inspired to live a better life tomorrow.
And there is something, the funniest thing is that you don't know what, like you said, is going to strike a chord. Sometimes you start working so hard on a podcast or a script saying that this is going to change so many people's lives, and they completely reject that. But something else that you said in passing has been picked up and used to make a difference. So for everyone, putting yourself out there, sharing your story, realizing that you can create a safe space to somebody else, and knowing that somebody else can do the same for you. Don't look at the people that you have in your life right now. Maybe the current friends are not the friends that you thought that they were.
How we were having this conversation just before we started recording, that sometimes you feel so safe with a stranger and you share things that you may not share with your other people that you know, because at the end of the day, sometimes people feel that, so if I share this will end up as gossip, or I'll be spoken about in a group where I'm not present. and in a light that I don't want to, because you cannot just flip to page number 3045 of my life's book and then say, you know me, you don't, So even if you are a friend for a very long time, so many things about friends you may not know because they don't share with you because they don't feel comfortable.
Forget that. So many things about the people that you call the closest in your life, which are family, you won't know. You don't know who their friends were. You don't know what they went through in life. And often they don't share.
Yeah. And that happens all the time. Like you've been through divorce and, people will say, "Acha, theek hai, wo to aisa tha na, isliye, this is what has happened," or she was like this and that is what has happened. So, you're never in that comfort space, even with your family members. On your face, everybody will be very nice, and but they would not be sharing their true identity, the true stories, and they wouldn't ever know.
You never know what is there. And it's so interesting that we think that only we have, skeletons in our closet. And you suddenly start realizing, especially in the work that I do, when people open up about their past, you suddenly realize, oh my God, everybody has skeletons in their closet. Everybody has things that they wish the world never knew and wish they never did.
Yeah.
That we need to bring out and realize that, listen, this is part of the human journey. All the things that have happened in your life have happened only to teach you something. Have you learned, or are you dakkan? Are you waiting for it to happen again so that you can learn? Learn the first time around.
So you are a believer that, life is trying to teach you a lesson. Until the time you don't learn it, it keeps repeating in a cycle.
Life has only been created for you to have the best experience that you can possibly have. We take it way more seriously. There's a beautiful quote that says that we take seriously what God made in jest. God said, maja. And we're like, I have to go and prove myself to people, and I have to do this, and I have to help 1 million people in life. Are you having fun doing it?
Yeah.
If you're not having fun doing it, what's the point?
Did you have, yeah?
And I was saying that, and so many of us are stuck in jobs that we are unhappy with, etc., because we think we have this duty towards the world, we have this duty. Of course, we have responsibilities. Responsibilities are nothing but your ability to respond to situations.
Yeah.
Duty is a very bad word in comparison, because duty means you're doing something that you don't actually want to be doing.
Out of obligation.
Out of obligation, you're forced into it. That's not a way to live. Don't live by duty. Live by responsibility. Live by love. Those are far better ways.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said, because a lot of times, people say that I want to make a lot of money. I want to do this. I want it. And you should do what you enjoy doing. Money is a byproduct of what you do. So if you do it well, money will follow. So you don't have to. But then, in India, especially in the middle class family, when you're growing up, then people are like, you have to pay your bills, you have to do this, you have to do that. But those things are changing now. Like I see when, so I did recruitment for a while in Singapore. And when you work with very young people, they don't have these notions anymore. They're like, I'm going to be a nomad worker. I'll go to Thailand on a, visit visa or a nomad visa, and I'll work from there. You want my work, you pay me this much, but I will also charge as much as you're paying a regular employee. So now that entire thing of I have to really work very hard to pay my bills is changing, which is very good to know that they have broken that.
Also because they haven't faced difficult times financially yet. Yeah. They haven't seen those. So very often it's also coming not from a place of experience. When these things were told to us, it was coming from a place of experience, from either our grandparents or parents. So will reality give two jhapads? Who knows? It might happen. What? But the point is, are you learning from those jhapads?
Or not?
Or not learning from those jhapads? Yeah. And are you enjoying the journey or not? You have to learn to enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Life will happen.
There are so many questions that I have right now. There is so much that I want to discuss, and maybe we should catch up one more time again to do one more episode. But thank you.
Season 2.
Season 2, yes. Ashdin, very, very soon. And I look forward to having many more conversations with you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you so much, and best of luck for your podcast.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and effort of, coming here and shooting with us and sharing such interesting stories and inspirational stuff with the people who are going to watch it. It means a lot.
My pleasure.